Camera for Donny.
Go for Donny.
Sound for Donny.
Go for Donny.
Makeup for Donny.
Go for Donny.
Medic for Donny.
Go for Donny.
Grip department for Donny.
Go for Donny.
Production for Donny.
Go for Donny.
Run for Donny. Go for Donny.
Hey, Murray, how you doing, buddy?
Good. How you doing?
I'm great. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Murray Sawchuck. Murray Sawchuck is an amazing person. He's not only a brilliant magician, but he's actually a sweet guy. And I know him. I've known him for about, Murray, I'm going to date us now. I think it was 2008 when we met on a little show called Cadabra.
Yeah, long time, yeah.
So it's been a couple of years, and I've been lucky over those years. We've hung out a few times whenever I'm in Vegas or when you come to LA and you do your thing at the Magic Castle. So I'm blessed to have you as I call you as a friend and an amazing magician. So how you been? What's going on with you, Murray?
Good, man. Just back here in Vegas, hanging out in my office today. It's been good. You know, way back in April, we closed the Tropicana. It just shut down. That's where my show was, you know, with the Laugh Factory for 12 years. So I went on the road for 3 or 4 months this summer, and I've been on the road for a long time like that. So it's kind of fun, you know, played a few different places in Vegas too. And then in December, which I can't mention yet, is going to come out in a week or so. I'm opening December 14th here back in Las Vegas. So.
Oh, cool. All right. December 14th. We'll wait for that announcement. I can't wait. Yeah. Dude, you did have such a fun show. I mean, going back to Celebrity Cadabra when we were hanging out on set and getting to see you work your magic and with Kimberly. But I've been to a couple of your shows and they're so entertaining. You're not only a good magician, but you're actually fucking funny. You're a magician as well.
Sure. Well,
I'm sorry, comedian as well as a magician. That's what I'm saying.
It depends. I mean, if a trick goes south, that's the comedy part, and if it amazes you, then that's the magic part. You know. So, but no, when I was growing up, I realized there wasn't many places on TV for magicians. There's always one or two, and that was it. And so, but comedy, there's always room. Kind of like musicians, you can never have enough. So I shortly realized in my 20s. I was always funny off camera, and off stage, but I started figuring out how to be funny on stage and on camera, just because that's how you get on TV more, you know. And I use magic as my vehicle now, and I'm still obviously do magic, but it's nice that I can complement it with comedy. You know what I mean?
That's so cool. So just so how everyone really knows how Murray and I met, like I said, we met on Celebrity Cadabra back in 2008. And then fast forward when we were in Las Vegas filming an episode of Top Gear. And I talk about this because this podcast kind of spawned from Top Gear and all the stupid stories that we had from the time on Top Gear. Sure. Like the episode we did of Taxis in Las Vegas, where I think you weren't even slated to do this. I think I just hit you up and asked if you're available and you wanted to do something fun. And you're like, yeah, sure, let's do it.
Yeah, we shot it from the Tropicana in an ambulance, I believe.
Oh, that's right. It was Adam's. Yeah. It was Adam's ambulance turned into a taxi cab, and then they took you down the street as you performed some magic in the back of it.
Yeah. They had the street blocked off and cleared, and they went flying down there with the ambulance sirens going. I was in the back of the ambulance doing magic tricks as they were taxiing me around Las Vegas. So it was fun. I think there was 2 other cars they were competing with, like a regular cab and then something else, a hearse or whatever the heck they had. I forget what it was.
Yeah, they had actually. It's funny you said that. There was what was it? It was shit. It was some kind of car that had like a back, like the old what are those lowrider cars? El Camino. Yeah, I think it was El Camino.
Well, like the old El Rancho or the El Camino.
El Rancho, yeah. El Rancho wasn't as cool as El Camino.
Yeah, El Rancho they made in the late 50s, early 60s. Yeah.
And then Tanner had this souped up Scion that was just
the
drifting thing. And I think it was either before or after we went out with you in the ambulance. Yeah. We went out with the officers and literally went through it's Las Vegas Boulevard and Tropicana Ave.
Yeah.
Is it So we're going through and man, Tanner just starts doing donuts in the middle of the intersection, right as we go through. We're filming out the back of the Suburban, and all you see is just nothing but smoke. And then you can see the lights in the distance as they go red, and it's green for the other cars now. And so we had to get him out of there. And as soon as we get back to Tropicana, the cop was like, well, I guess we won't be doing that again, will we? And I'm like, no, I'm sorry, officer, we won't. But man, it looked cool. It was funny as shit. So
yeah, you just need to get that one take and nail it. You know, that's all you need.
Oh, God bless Vegas. So, so we talk about stupid, crazy behind the scenes stories on this podcast, Murray. And I know in your time, surely you have one or two gems that you can share with the audience that something maybe went awry or just something crazy that happened behind the scenes.
All sorts of things, I remember when I was shooting America's Got Talent season 5, so that was 2010. We were shooting at the CBS lot in LA there. And somehow I pitched it and they said yes, that they wanted me to produce this 450-pound tiger on the show because no one had ever done it before. And it's basically where I turned a girl into a tiger. And then the girl would then appear behind the judges. So girl in a clear box, curtain goes up, it drops. She turns into a 450-pound tiger, and then behind the judges, the girl is now there. And she was also wearing Piers Morgan's suit jacket. So I wasn't using twins or anything because I wore the actual jacket from Piers. That way it was the same girl. And all fine and dandy, but of course they had 2 tigers on set because the way you work with tigers is if one doesn't want to work, guess what? It doesn't work. So they always have 2, and it was Randy Miller, who was a big tiger guy in the movies for about 30 years in Hollywood, and he had a big bear, and he always helped me when I needed to do these certain things on TV. So he came in a big race car trailer, all the 2 tigers in there, and I mean they were getting steak and filet mignon. The trailers were air conditioned. I mean they had better living conditions than most humans, and which you had to be aware of that because as soon as we were getting on set, we had PETA on set, and they were like, here we go. And they said, well, the conditions have to be right for the tiger. And obviously they have to be. And they were going back and forth. And literally we set the tiger up in the trick. And they're like, well, where the tiger's hiding, there's not enough airspace supposedly, and it needs air conditioning. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I mean, these are tigers from Africa. I mean, and there was plenty of space, and it wasn't that hot, and blah blah blah. But we needed to do the trick. So here they were installing an air conditioner on top of this huge illusion, drilling holes in the top of it so it could have more air. It had enough air, but PETA was not happy with that. And fortunately, people who know how PETA work, you need to get that right because if not, it would have been boycotted, and we'd have picketers outside of CBS. It was a whole thing that America's Got Talent really didn't want, and so fine, we get that cleared. And I thought, okay, we're back on track. And then I'm sitting in the lobby that day and the day before, and they said, hey, what about if we instead of the girl taking to the tiger, won't we if the girl changed to Nick Cannon, who was the host of the show, or maybe David Hasselhoff, who used to be on the show. And I said, well, yeah, that's a great idea. I said, but it is not the same trick. I don't need a massive box like this to switch out 2 people, The box is designed for a tiger, and producing David Hasselhoff doesn't have the same impact as a tiger, even though he's great. And so they were almost going to cancel the thing. I thought, well, here we go. I mean, because this is a major trick on TV. We got the air conditioning installed. Then I go to practice on the stage again for that night before we're going to go live. And I released the curtain, and it's a curtain that's around the whole box that drops straight down. Well, for some reason, every time I pulled the curtain, one side would drop before the other, so it would jam. So the trick worked, but the curtain wouldn't come down. And it's so high up, there's no way you can get it to drop. So Jason Raff walks up to me, who's the executive producer, and I've known him for years, and he walks up and he goes, hey, Murray, the trick's great. Everything's looking fine, but I'm telling you right now, if that curtain doesn't drop when you pull that thing, and we can't reveal a tiger in there because there's no way to get that curtain down, I can't do anything about it. We can't move you onto any round. There's no trick because I said, I know. I said, it'll work. I said, I'm just letting you know, if that curtain doesn't drop, we're stuck. We're screwed. We can't do anything with it. I said, no, I got it. So that's the end of rehearsal. And the next day we're going live. So I'm in the parking lot, kid you not, from 6 p.m. to about midnight till I was allowed to stay on that lot. We were the only ones on that lot. And for those people who don't know the lot, that's where they shoot Price is Right and all these other shows. Oh, yeah. Right, that's with stars and everything else. And so I'm out there. Everyone's left except me and a security guard, and Lefty is my guest act in my show. And we're resetting this curtain over and over and over and over. And I'm pulling the curtain just to figure out, to make sure it drops. I thought, man, the trick, everything's working. I got PETA up for everything, got air conditioning the thing, tiger's up there, the girl's great, everything's working. And this goddamn curtain, the simplest thing, isn't dropping right. And if it somehow jams, I'm screwed because there's no reveal. Like the tiger could be there, but you can't see the goddamn thing. So I'm pulling this thing, and I realized what it was is when I pulled this cord, it had 2 pin hinges that just open, and then it drops this drop. It's kind of like a kabuki drop, or it's just a square curtain that drops down. So what happens is it's a big curtain with a metal at the bottom, metal at the top. The top one drops first, and then you pull a second wire, and the bottom one drops, and that's how you reveal the girl. So I pull the first one. That's never a problem because it's below and it's right on there. The second one is the hardest one because it's carrying the weight of everything else down with it. And I'm telling you right now, I practiced probably 1,000 times. It became OCD in the parking lot trying to do this thing. And it would jam once every 15 times. Then I realized the first one was easy because I pulled it and it would release the pin and would drop this thing. The second one, when it pulled, though, somehow if I didn't pull it hard enough, one pin would release half a second before the other pin, which made the thing go off center when it dropped. So if I pulled it really quick, both pins would go. So I realized that finally by about midnight. So when you watch that clip, you ever see it online of me producing this girl, the tiger trick, you actually see me come off the ground because I pulled that string so goddamn hard because I'm thinking, if this does not drop, because I knew everything worked. The girl got in there, the jacket worked, the thing worked, the music was great. I knew the girl, once I dropped the curtain, that was fine. I walked around, and of course my line was, ladies and watch, don't take your eyes off this cabinet because whatever you do, this is the trick you're going to be talking about at work tomorrow. And I'm thinking, man, if this doesn't work, that line is going to be locked into my crappy mistakes all my life. And if you see me when I pulled and I said that last thing, and I think my last line was Howie Mandel, this is for you. That's what it was. So I pulled, you're not going to believe this. This is when we'll be talking about at work. I crank on the thing. You see me come right off the ground. The sucker drops. I look. I'm as excited as the audience. I go, I said, Howie, the tiger's for you, and Piers, the girl's for you. And then the girl appeared behind Piers Morgan with his jacket. And I'm telling you, when I looked at the box, I looked back out, I was as excited to see the tiger. I thought, man, if this goddamn thing doesn't work, this is going to be the biggest blooper on America's Got Talent, and expensive because they paid a fortune for the tiger and all this stuff. So it's one of those moments where most people don't realize how everything was like basically on clockwork. If it didn't work, it would have been the worst trick ever. So.
Oh my gosh, and that's all live as well. People don't understand.
Yeah, people don't realize. Yeah, America's Got Talent really is live. There's no staging stuff or setting stuff. That's why that show's so strong, because it's really in real time.
Do you think you are drawn to live? Clearly, everything you do is live, so you're drawn to that adrenaline. You adrenaline junkie like that, where it's got to be,
Yeah, I love that. That's why also when I do TV shows, I do things in real time. Just because that's how I do. That's how I perform every night, and that's my style. I don't need to preset many things, Can things look a little bit better on TV if I preset things? Yeah, of course, you can have that, but it's not needed, And so when I see a lot of these magic shows out there on TV and you can see it's all preset or staged, I go, there's no real reason you need to do that if you work all the time, because these tricks can be done in real time, and I think the audience these days now can actually see the fact that that you're either staging something or you're not.
How do you think the magician, your world is gone right now? I mean, it ebbs and flows. Do you think it's on the back and the up, where it seems like everywhere you turn, there was a magic show on TV, left and right, and then it kind of went away, and now it seems like it's resurging, like with the Americans Got Talent and some of these talent shows.
It's definitely resurging, 100%. It's definitely coming right up. I think it's like anything. Like comedy in the 80s was phenomenal, and now comedy is so back up right now. No one ever thought comedians would be selling at arenas, and it's a common thing right now. From Joe Coy to Kreischer to Segura, all those guys. You know what I mean? Like it's a big Kill Tony, all those guys. It's wild how. So Magic definitely. I just shot my 11th season on Massive Illusion with ATI Studios and CW, and 11 seasons in a row, and you think, well, maybe 5 or 8, but they got another year, which is amazing, so it's a good thing. I think also trying to be creative and interesting and different, and not just doing a good trick. I think people have to be vested in the person doing the effect, which creates you as a star or personality, not just the trick. Because, it's like singing a song. You could sing any song, but not many people sing like Celine Dion or Adele or Mariah Carey or, whoever is famous out there, that has those. That's why you're listening. You're listening to them for who they are, not necessarily the song.
Well, I've always liked not just because I consider you a friend. I think your magic is great because you incorporate the comedy with it. So you really do bring people in and keep.
Well,
them,
I'm just not a serious person. Even when you look like this, how can I be serious? I mean, could you imagine me being a doctor? I walk in and go, "Hey, what's wrong?" And they're like, "No, we're healthy. We're totally fine right now. I think we're good." So it's very hard to. It's just my personality. I'm thinking everything that what could go wrong or how could I make this funnier, and I've just always been that way because to clap's easy. You can clap at anything. You can clap at stuff that's crap, but to laugh, it's very hard to fake laugh and have stuff that's, but if it's funny, they'll laugh. And that's a beautiful thing. When you have somebody laugh at something, it's addictive, it's like a drug,
And you're doing shows at the Laugh Factory, is that right?
Yeah, I was. I was at Laugh Factory for 12 years. Yeah. I mean, I took a 3-year break and I went to Planet Hollywood within that 12 years. But yeah, Laugh Factory is my main producer. And I had a resident show there for years at Tropicana. And they're great. And they're looking for a new place here in Las Vegas. And I think next year they're planning on opening again. But between that, I'm moving and going to different places for the next little while.
So will the Tropicana is going to open up where the stadium is again?
No, forever. They imploded in the middle of October. So they're building a baseball park. They're bringing the Oakland A's there. And Bally's owns that land now. So whatever they're going to build, there's going to be a Bally's casino, hotel, and the baseball park. It's about 35 acres. It's huge.
Oh, my gosh. I always talk about how amazing it is that buildings can be erected and built so fucking quick in the Las Vegas area, but outside of the Las Vegas area, I mean, it takes forever. Like our bullet train that they've been working on for years. I mean,
I think there's two things. First of all, we have the perfect environment to work 12 months a year. Sure. So it's not Washington, it's not Montana, Chicago, where they get snow from November till May. So I think we have that on our side, and it rarely rains here, and I think it's easy to get stuff here from the ports, from like LA and everywhere else. So I think that has a big thing to do with it. What's still growing is a demand for things here as well. So, and a reason to have things. The sooner they build a hotel, the sooner they can get people to gamble and spend money. And people coming here, it's not like a mystery. It's almost like Dubai. I'm sure they build stuff really quickly in Dubai now, because Dubai now is a big hub for very rich people to go hang. I'm sure at the beginning it was hit or miss, but.
Yeah, no, so true. I mean, I just wish that bullet train would come in. So speaking of trains, a good segue. I didn't know you made a train disappear. You made a locomotive disappear?
Yeah, my father's locomotive, 1918 steam engine. Yeah.
Wait, your dad's locomotive?
Yeah, because he worked. My whole family's been on the railway all their life, except for
I didn't know that, dude.
Yeah,
I drove trains before I got into the industry. I was an engineer.
Now, like real trains, like big ones.
Freight trains, yeah.
No way. Okay, so you know all about them. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So my dad started on the coal engine, all the coal and the real steam engines, and he used to shovel coal and grease the engines and all that stuff back. And when he was 18, back in Vancouver.
Oh, that's so cool. So you made a steam engine that he had?
Yeah, locomotive. So we had to find one that was very similar because it wasn't his, obviously. Mm-hmm. And the steam engine, most people don't know or they know, it's super heavy. And when you do something on a stage, you only put a certain weight on a stage, especially a studio stage. So we had to gut it and empty out, take off most of the metal that we could that would actually be in there because it's such a heavy piece of work. And then we made it vanish live on stage. And that was another one of those ones, I'm telling you. I'm in that parking lot again a few weeks later, and I pitched this idea to him. I was going to get the Ivy, the restaurant there in LA, because I wanted to be fancy and bougie and pay $40 for a salad. And because I'd never been there, because that's where all the stars got filmed. And don't forget, this is 2010. And so I took my mom there, and Lefty, my guest actor, was sitting there, and they called me and said, "Hey, Murray, if we were to get through this next round with this tiger," because I was going to find out that night, come back to see if the votes come in. But they're like, if you get, I'm not saying you do, but what would be your next trick? Like, what do you have on the table for us? And I said, well, I could do this and that and this and that. And then Lefty was the one, so why don't you do something big, like vanish like a steam engine, like go back to your roots, because you don't have this rags to rich story. Everyone has that parents gave up their car to get the kid to LA to become an actor, or whatever the story is. And they didn't have that story. Well, you need some sort of a story, but that's half the battle on these shows is the rags to riches story, not just being great. So why don't you, your story is you give up he gave up everything for magic. You could have had a very solid career in the railway because that's what your whole family did. Pension plan, retirement, but you decided to be a magician. And so in honor of that, maybe Vanish, a train of your dad's, in honor of being a railway family. I'm like, oh, there it is. And I even did a commercial for Cheerios because it was a whole thing they were doing about what did you give up to be here thing, and I had to not really make up something, but I had to really stretch a little bit because, my life was pretty simple. We weren't rich growing up at all, but it wasn't a horrible life at all. So that's what we had to do is make that a little more, empathetic. So so I said, hey, I can manage a train for you. I said, really? I said, yep. And I said, it's going to be expensive. I'm not going to pay for it, because I don't have a train in my parking lot. And so they said, well, how much would it cost? So I called my builder and my designer, and I said, I got to find a train, but how much? And we got a price. And I said, well, yeah, we can easily do it. I said, well, great, because if you do get through, we're not saying you are, you'd probably do it in next week. I said, well, I can't do it next week. I said, I need 2 weeks. I said, well, we that's kind of hit or miss. We kind of pick and choose. I said, well, I'm telling you right now, if you want that trick, I said, I can do a lot of tricks, but if you want that trick, I said, it can be done in 2 weeks, not next week. I said, it's impossible. I said, it won't be done. I don't have it. I said, I got to design it. I said, but 2 weeks from now, that is a possibility. And even that was like just ridiculous. And so sure enough, I called my builder in Vegas. I said, you're not going to believe this. And I got the budget approved. And I said, we need to find a train. And we need to modify the train so it can fit on a stage. I need this sucker to be 3,000 pounds or less or whatever the stage weight took. And so we drove up to Boulder City here in Vancouver. We go to Boulder City here in Vegas and looked at a big old train lot that was just sitting there with rusted trains. And I hopped the fence and I found out who owned the trains. And I said, hey, that's the train I need. And we brought it back to Vegas, worked on it, and got it approved. And literally, we pulled it into the lot the night before, and then we built the scaffolding in the lot to put this big cover on top of it. And I thought, well, if I could raise the train in the air, see the silhouette, pull a cloth, and it disappears, that's a pretty cool trick. No one's ever done that, ever, And sure enough, we were in that parking lot practicing over and over. And once I ripped the cloth, next it got caught in the thing. I thought, oh my God, this is not going to work at all. And then I realized, like, when you do certain things, like that cloth has to be taut. And if you say you're trying to make the train disappear somehow, it'll suck everything with it. Like if you're trying to push that thing or go up or down with it, it takes the cloth with it. Like it's a thin cloth. So all of a sudden I need people to hang on for dear life so you don't see anything move when it shouldn't. And then the best thing was, I did this with the trick. We got sorted. And what people don't realize is really interesting. And talk about things people don't realize on the stage. I had 5 or 7 of my own crew, and we used 12 of their crew on stage. So we needed a lot of people to move this train because it didn't just disappear. And so we're on that stage. And with the stage on the wings, they have star drops on LED walls. Not an old star drop like the velvet with light bulbs. This actually has LED walls, and they moved in and out, so you could bring, on tracks. So we do a test run in the afternoon, right? And the train has a cow catcher on. That's that big pointed nose we call the cow catcher. So which basically shoots things off the rails if it comes forward, and they could probably say a cow catcher if there's a cow on the way going through farmlands, it'll just shoot inside. So we get everything measured, and we tape it off. This is where the train has to be, and we know where to get rid of it. And we time it, we do it once, and it looked great. I thought, man, we've got this. I just need this to look good once on TV. So 2 things happened. All of a sudden that whole day, no producers are really looking at me or talking to me. Nothing's really, the attention I'm getting for the last 4 months is vanished. And I said to somebody, this is my last round. I said, I'm not going through. I said, just know it. They're just, the way they're talking to me, I said, it's okay. I've gone further in this competition than I ever thought I would. I'm in the semifinals. I've done tricks I've never done in my life that I could never do without being on this stage, And I've designed some really cool things. I said, I'm done. And like, how do you, like, you're doing one of the biggest tricks ever on that stage, which it still is the largest trick ever done on America's Got Talent. I said, it's my time. I said, I don't know why, but I also brought Jim Steinmeier and Don Wayne, and Jim Steinmeier and Don Wayne are the top magic designers in the world. They worked for Copperfield, everybody. And I think also when the producers saw I had those guys with me, they knew I could do any trick I wanted to ever. And if I wanted to win, or at least get to the end, I could design a trick probably worthy of it. And I think that was a bit of a concern either, because they always had singers win or other things that would be more beneficial to them at that time, because no magician ever won. So we're doing this. It's time to roll. It's live, right? So we get the train up on stage. We lock it off. They're good, doing a commercial break and everything. And we get the cloth ready on top and everyone's in position. And I go to do the trick. So away I go. And first of all, they drop my music super low purposely. And I thought, well, that's not right, because you're going to hear it moving out. You're going to hear us getting rid of that goddamn train. Like, I need that music pumping, and it was not loud. And I've been on that stage enough now going, there's no reason why it shouldn't be loud. And I thought, okay. So if you watch that clip, I don't stop talking. I just keep talking away, because I realize if I'm talking, my voice will cover any noise that's being made of that train vanishing or going where we're trying to get rid of it. And if I stop talking, you're going to hear something. And that music was so low, and I thought, those bastards.
Oh, it's crazy.
And then I do the whole thing. Cloth drops. I pull a cloth off. I look back. It's gone. Like it is gone. I'm like, thank Christ. I turn. Audience stands up. Sharon Osbourne stands up. Piers Morgan and Harry Mandel stay seated. Don't even clap. I'm like, I just vanished a goddamn train 15 feet from you guys, like live, one take, one shot. It fucking worked. It was pretty amazing for the time we had. Now, if I had like 3 months to redesign the thing, I would have done a few things differently, but I had 2 weeks to get this thing designed, and a trick I've never done in my life. So I stand there, all of a sudden, Sharon standing up, clapping. And then Piers Morgan's like, well, it's not bad, but it's, I think the other magician on the show did much better than you this time. And the other magician at that point did a trick like I did that episode, similar to the tiger trick I did the week before. He just changed a girl and made her appear somewhere. I'm like, he did the same goddamn trick I did the week before, but I used a tiger, had a girl appear in the. I'm like, how are you saying that you think that guy's trick's better than mine when I just did the goddamn trick the week before that was even better than the trick he just did now, and I vanished a fucking train. So I'm like, okay. So as soon as he said that, all the dominoes lined up. I went, I'm totally not going through. Like, I know it's a production meeting. Way before I was on stage, they knew my time was up. I knew it. And I've done enough shows like this. And then Sharon was like, Murray, I got to be honest with you. I've never seen anything like that in my life. I said, I haven't even seen David Copperfield do tricks like that. And she's praising me. I went, oh, she's going off script. This is not the way it's supposed to go. And she couldn't stop. I said, I would pay top dollar to see that in Las Vegas. I said, I haven't even seen David Copperfield do something that great. I said, and this close to me. We're here. This is a live show. There's no set. Like, we're seeing it live. And I said, well, thank you very much. And I knew she stood up for a reason, it gave me a standing ovation, because it was that good, I think. Not because I did it. I just feel like the whole thing really came together. It took a lot of people to make it look that good. But then Piers said, it's not that good. I'm thinking, what are we? Not that good? Are you shitting me? And then Howie Mandel was like, he had to cover, and Howie's a dear friend of mine, but Howie had to cover 2 places. And Howie said, well, actually, didn't David Copperfield do something like that in the 90s? Like, I said, and I realized Copperfield called him. Something happened between 2 days ago and now, because something happened bringing up Copperfield. I said, well, yeah, Copperfield did something like that. I said, but he did it outside, live, with the train on tracks. This is in a building with a steam engine.
On a stage. And
Copperfield had a train car outside on tracks still. Like, if a train's still on tracks, you're doing it outside, there's only one way you're making that sucker disappear. I didn't say that, but I'm thinking, why would you bring that up? Like, has nothing to do with David Copperfield. The only reason I'm doing a train trick is my family's in the railway. If my family was scuba divers, I'd probably do something in an aquarium. I wouldn't use a goddamn train. But I'm like, so as soon as he said that, so as soon as Sharon's, and don't forget, I'm live on TV, so everything in my head, I'm going, don't be defensive, just be nice and just let it go, because you're not going to look right. So Piers was like, I said, I appreciate your compliment. Piers, thanks. And then Sharon stood up. I said, well, thank you very much. I went, well, she stood up and she's talking about how great this is, better than Copperfield. I went, oh, she's doing that. She's not supposed to be saying that. But I said, okay. And then Harry was like, didn't Copperfield do that back in the old days? I'm like, oh my God, Howie Mandel is saying the line Sharon should be saying to me. And she decided not to, because she realized how great the trick was and how much work it went into it. So I'm going through all this in my head on stage, watching this live, going, wow, Sharon totally went off script, said shit she shouldn't have said, and gave me accolades. Piers is following the script because he's getting paid a fortune an episode, so you do what they say. And then Howie's trying to cover up and help the way it was supposed to go live, saying didn't Copperfield, and then he butted in with what he probably should have said was, I think I heard something like the train leaving the station. Well, there's sure a lot of noise. I'm thinking, bastard, that's why they dropped my music, because you're supposed to hear stuff.
Yeah.
But you heard nothing because I kept talking. So whatever he said, I think the train was leaving the station, and they were making noise loading up the other group up there, whatever the hell it was. So he said his line, which didn't make any sense because there was no noise. Long story longer, we finished. My dad is there, my mom, we hug. I go off stage going, wow, that was interesting, because they were hoping the trick didn't work. Get this. I go off stage. My lead guy backstage, my own stage tech that I brought in with me, he goes, you're not going to believe what fucking happened. And I said, it was pretty wild. I said, but we pulled it off. He said, yeah, I watched the monitors. He said, it looked amazing. And I said, what happened back there? He said, you're not going to fucking believe this. We marked off exactly where the train should be. I know he's a guy that's worked with every magician. He helped build the train. Like, he knows magic better than anybody. He's back there with the train. He said, Murray, we're trying to get it off stage. Can you believe, as you were talking about your dad and the railway, before you covered that sucker up, they moved that right LED wall in by 6 inches. So that cow catcher, when they were pulling the train off stage, was supposed to hit the wall and not disappear. And he was standing right there, and the union techs were like, this is where it needs to be. And he was like, no, it doesn't. It needs to be right there. It's like, goddamn mark. I said, nope, this is where it's at. It's like, no, it doesn't fucking have to be. And he literally leaned in with 2 of his guys and pushed the LED wall right out of the way, 6 inches where it needs to be, because they were pushing it in, because they were trying to catch the train from not disappearing, which everything makes sense now, right? Because the way and it actually did disappear, because I had my team on all the important corners. All the other people were just fill-ins to help us get rid of it, because it's a huge train. And so basically, my guys were all in the important areas, so it wouldn't fuck up because they know what's going on. And so he said, yeah, they try to bring that wall in so the train wouldn't get past it. I said, no way. And so he's the one that moved it literally seconds before they had to crank it out of there. And then and that was it. And then I said, no way. I said, well, I know Piers Morgan sat there with his arms crossed saying that the magician that day did a better trick. I'm like, he did the same trick I did the episode before. Sharon stood up, went against everybody. Howie Mandel went and covered her line, talking about, well, didn't Copperfield do that? And then Howie Mandel had to cover his line, which is about making some noise, which it made no noise. And I'm like, that's unbelievable. And so I didn't know Howie Mandel at that point in my career. I didn't know Piers nor Sharon, right? And so that was it. Years later, I got a phone call from David Copperfield, that he heard that you were doing his trick, and he said, you got to stop that. That's not the way it's gonna be. And Copperfield was coming on that season to perform, and so was Chris Angel. And he called Howie, and Howie didn't know Copperfield at the time. And if you go back and look at Howie's Mandel's thing, you'll see it. It's online somewhere about this, not too long back. And he said, yeah, he called me. I didn't know he had my number. And he called me saying, I hear Murray's doing this. He can't go through. Like, he's not. That's my trick. It's not possible. And I said, no way. He said, oh, yeah. So we changed everything because he called, and he was coming on that season. He was not happy that you were supposed to be doing his trick. I said, well, it's not his trick. I used to train locomotive in a live theater, doing it with a live audience. I said, he did his in the 90s with the Orient Express, which is a train car outside on tracks with a ton of lights just showing off the train while it was still sitting on tracks with a locomotive car. I said, it's not the same trick at all. I said, and also I'm doing it because it's my family's history. This train would never be on this thing. And then later on it was copied by the illusionists for a few years, where they copied making a train appear. And you could tell they copied my trick because it was the same train I had. And if you know anything about trains, there's probably 145 different styles of locomotives that you could copy. Like, you could use any. I just happened to use because it was my dad's train. That's why I used the damn thing. Well, they copied the exact how many wheels it had, how many. I'm like, I know you copied my train, because if you know anything about railways, which all I've lived in all my life, there's 139 other trains. You could have just changed the design and made it a little bit different, and they didn't. And so it was one of those things where it really spawned the whole thing. So that was one of those things that I sat back, and it took me literally about 8 years to 10 years later to figure out, because I was on that stage going, what's going on right now? Piers is reacting like he shouldn't be. Sharon's overreacting. Howie's covering their lines, and I'm seeing all this. I've done TV all my life too, so I see how something's produced, and I'm like, how is that even happening? And then I go off, and my guy says, dude, they tried to stop your train from being pushed off because they moved the walls in by 6 inches. I'm no way. I'm like, those bastards.
Crazy.
And all day, no one talked to me. And then 10, 15 years later, I talked to Howie because we're friends now, going, you know what really happened? Copperfield called him saying, that's bullshit. I need you to stop that trick from happening. And so can you believe that? And we still pulled it off. But isn't that wild? But no one's ever heard that story from me. Isn't that crazy?
I had no idea.
Yeah, you're the first one hearing it. I mean, from my mouth, but you look back on Howie stuff about 4 months ago or something, you'll see it. It's actually a big thing about us talking about it. And he actually brought it up, not me, on live on his podcast. So it's pretty wild.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I had no idea. I just saw about a train. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I used to drive trains. And it's so funny. That's my cow catcher story. I have a good one to piggyback onto yours. It's not as good. It's not on stage. But first, you guys, I just want everyone to stay tuned for Switch to Channel 2, where I'm going to get a chance to ask our guest, Murray Sawchuck, some more questions that you, the listener, want to get answers to. And then later, I also have an amazing car enthusiast, Max, on his show, Max's Motor Minute, where he asks guests few car-specific questions and really grills them about cars. It's pretty crazy how much he knows about these cars. So, hey, I also have a website, Murray, where I sell merchandise, and I have these cool stickers called "Go for Donny," little stickers, and I got hats and everything. I got swag.
I love it.
Some swag because I know you don't have enough swag. To put them on your coffee cups and to support your favorite podcast. All right, so my cow catcher story. I love that you said cow catcher. I love that you know about engines.
Sure.
Just because I used to drive.
That's
so
amazing,
my first time out on a engine on the main line, I was with this engineer called John Moore, and I was a conductor trainee, and I'm sitting on the left side of the engine, engineer's on the right side, and we're rolling. I was looking down at my paperwork, and all of a sudden he starts blowing on the whistle. And I look up, I look at him like, are we going to hit it? And there was 2 cows, one standing sideways in the rail and one next to it. And we were doing 70 miles an hour. And so he just landed on the horn. And he looked over at me. He's like, hell yeah, we're going to hit it. And so right before we hit it, I go like this.
Uh-huh.
I think I'm going to feel it. And it was like, think. And we kept going.
Yeah.
And it like shit and cud and it just exploded all over the engine. The cow catcher caught the cow and it exploded. And then we stopped a couple miles down the way, funny enough, at a Taco Bell, and opened the door. And man, it was disgusting.
Yeah.
I think the backbone was on the knuckle of the engine.
Oh man, yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of those stories. You're taking trains in the wild where those animals live. That's their territory. It happens.
It's crazy. The dumbest thing I've ever hit was a washing machine.
What?
Someone, they put it, and it was the most random spot on the tracks where you're looking around going, how the hell did someone get this thing here?
Yeah.
But, they love seeing that shit. And then the cow catcher kicking it out.
And people realize how strong a train is. It's wild.
They say at 30 miles an hour, it's like running up to a can of soda, like a third full, and kicking it. That's what a train will do at 30 miles an hour, hitting a truck or a car.
Yeah.
So it's, they're destructive, but it's so cool that your family's around. So I can use that story too. I got out of the industry and got into podcasting. That's my rags to riches story, or else I would have been an engineer switching trains.
Yeah.
Just like Magical Murray.
Right.
Now, so how did you get started, Murray? I never heard how you got started, your first magic trick.
I was 7 years old. I got a magic kit from my parents from Reno, a Siegfried and Roy magic kit from my parents got me. And this isn't the one because I got rid of it, but I found it online, and that's the kit. Isn't that cool? That's the original kit from the early 80s. That they got me. It's got like tricks in there, 4 or 5 tricks, and this is the actual one, which I can't believe. So I bought 2 of them because I found them online somewhere, and I still have a couple of the original tricks here that I actually have. But this is it's not even open, so it's kind of cool. So that's the first kit I ever had, and it lasted half an hour, because I was young, because I always loved entertainment. I played accordion. I danced since the age of 5. So 7, 8, I was looking at other things. They gave me that as a souvenir from Reno, because you buy souvenirs at the kiosks and all that in the hotels. And that's when Reno was really popping. Late 70s, early 80s. It was like Vegas.
Yeah.
It was, and they'd have those flights for $200 from Canada, champagne flights, direct, and you stay free, gamble, you get everything free, the way casinos used to work, and that was the first thing. And then later, as I got older, I got my Uncle Nat to get me a magic kit, because they always asked what I wanted for my birthday or for Christmas. My birthday is November 25th, exactly a month from Christmas. So I'd open the Sears catalog when they had catalogs before the event.
I remember those days. Yeah. You pick, I want that. I want that. Yeah.
And so I'd go through stuff, and there was some magic kits in there. And so I had some friends that shared an interest, saying they could do some tricks. They taught me how to do this jumping elastic band trick, where it just goes from one finger to the other. And it's super. I don't even have an elastic band here, but if I did, I'd show it to you. But it's I do. So it's just like a little elastic band, and what you do is it jumps from one finger to the other like that. So there's on these 2 fingers, right? I'm using a skin color one, which I shouldn't, right? And you can show both sides, right? Go like this, right? And it's on these 2. If you open your hand, it jumps to these 2. And that's the trick. Super simple. And that's the one trick I learned. I was like, that's pretty cool. And so I learned that from a couple of friends. And then I just thought, what a cool idea, because I'd already been on stage for a while. And I knew I liked the attention when I danced and played music. And I thought, well, magic's not far off that as well. So I ended up getting into the magic thing that way. And I thought, let's go with it. And started doing birthday parties and making a few bucks. And I'm still fooling people to this day.
I freaking love that. That's so cool. It's so cool that you're able to do that, especially for a living.
Yeah, I know.
Do something you're passionate about for a living. I mean, not a lot of people have that opportunity through life, where they're working and they're doing that grind, and they're working for the weekend.
Yeah.
Where you're actually living for the weekend, because you do most of your stuff on the weekends, right?
100%. Yeah, I'm very fortunate. I always say some people, work 50 weeks a year, to get 2 weeks a year off for a vacation and a holiday, and I work 52 weeks a year, and I go on vacation 52 weeks a year, because I love what I do. So,
oh man, that's so cool. Well, I can't thank you enough for coming on, Murray. I just want to remind everyone, check out my website. This is not only an audio podcast, Murray, but this is also a video podcast.
Thank God I was on there, Donny. Jesus,
I know. It's on YouTube, so make sure you check it out. I have a YouTube channel, Go For Donny. That is where Go For Donny airs, along with Switchy Channel 2 and my nephew's podcast, Max's Motor Minute. But Murray, it's so good to see you. I can't thank you enough for being coming on, taking the time. Man, I just miss seeing you, and I love everything about you, Murray.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it. I miss you as well. And you're always a guest of mine here in Vegas. Yeah, stay at the house and see my show if you want. So
I can't wait to come out. Well, thank you, Murray. We appreciate it. And check us out on Switch Channel 2 coming up next, guys. Take it easy.
Production for Donny.
Go for Donny.
Locations for Donny.
Go for Donny.
Habitat for Donny.
Go for Donny.
Hey, Donny, what the hell are they doing?